Hello, my name is Peter Hoyt, and I'm very happy to be with you today as a member of the Board of Directors of Amesbury Community Television, but more importantly, for the first in what I hope is a series of programs called Footprints. As a member of the 350th Anniversary Committee, the steering committee here in Amesbury, next year being the 350th anniversary, and also a member of the Amesbury Carriage Museum Board of Directors, we're going to attempt to capture the stories of folks in our community who have made a significant mark on life as we know it. I'm reminded of the poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that speaks, "The lives of great men and women all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and in parting leave behind us footprints on the sands of time." Well, today, I'm thrilled to have as our first speaker my first cousin, Betty Goodwin, 93 years old and proudly a resident of the Elizabeth Calsey House here on Lyons Mouth Road. Betty has a lifetime of service in the community, and I wondered if we could start, Betty, talking about your personal story, life at Lake Attitash, because if I'm not mistaken, Betty was an 88-year resident of 68 Lake Attitash. Am I correct?
Yes. When my father, before we moved to Lake Attitash, my father was a custodian of a cottage up there, and then that cottage became for sale, so he decided to move there. None of the cottages were winterized. We didn't even have town water at that time, and we were probably about 2 other children that went on the school bus. And I was 5 years old, my brother was 9 months old, and I lived there all of my life until I moved here. And we had the most wonderful years of living at Lake Attitash. It was a summer resort, and my father had a real estate business, and he would rent cottages to families from Saugus and all around Boston, and they would have children our ages, and we would get together and swim and sail and play horseshoes and sit on each other's porches in the evening and just have the most wonderful childhood that I can ever imagine. And there were very few children that lived there year-round, and most of my friends were people that lived down on Newton Road that we met on the school bus. And I went to the Bartlett school for my first grade because my father was janitor there. And my mother wanted us to go down there, but we had to walk, my sister and I, up to the Ordway school to get the school bus, and we decided that was too much. So the next year I moved to the Ordway school and was there for the 2nd and 3rd grade and 4th grade. And then the 5th grade I was transferred to the Whittier school to the 6th grade. So those were the years of my schooling, and then I went to the Amesbury High.
What year did you graduate from Amesbury High School?
42.
And then after Amesbury High School, Betty, I know that education didn't stop for you there.
No.
Can you talk about what you did after AHS?
Mm-hmm. I wasn't a good student at all.
Oh, I don't believe it.
I didn't care for school at all. I had no idea what in the world I wanted to do with my life after I graduated. And my girlfriend, Dorothy Wilson, was going into training in the North Shore Babies Hospital in Salem, so I decided to go in with her. And I graduated there 1 year later as a children's nurse, and I got a job with a professor at Phillips Academy and took care of their 3 children for 2.5 years. And it was a wonderful family, and I liked the job, but for it being 20 years old and sitting in my room all evening with no TV or anything, I worked 7 to 7 every day and had 1 day off a week. I decided to give up that job and move back to Amesbury. And then I didn't know what I would be doing I worked at the supervised play program at Amesbury in Amesbury for 2 or 3 years, and then I was fired from that job. They told me that they thought the college students needed the job more than I did, so then I was without a job and didn't know what I was going to do. At that point, my friend Gladys Turnquist had a baby, and her husband had left her, and she ran a private kindergarten in the other half of her house, and she hired me to take care of the baby. And then after the baby became 5 years old, she decided to go back to public teaching and rented the half of house to me, and I ran that as a private kindergarten. And then after 15 years, the state took over licensing kindergartens, and I couldn't meet their criteria to stay there, so I hunted all over Amesbury trying to find a place that was suitable and that would meet all the rules and regulations, and couldn't find anything. So I decided to build, and how in the world I ever thought that I was going to be able to afford to build a new building, but I had a life insurance policy coming due that I was going to go to Hawaii with, but never did. I bought a lot of land in Amesbury, and the bank gave me a mortgage, and I built a one-story ranch-type building without the partitions in it, and on Lake Street in Amesbury, and ran that for 15 years. And the state made public kindergartens mandatory and put me out of business again. And I had been working in the Amesbury Library summers, so I got a full-time job working at the Amesbury Library for 15 years, and that was the best move I ever made, because being self-employed you get no benefits at all, and after I retired from the library I got all kind of benefits, and so that takes it up to as far as there. And
imagine the people you've influenced, Betty. When I think of my experience and my wife Patty's experiences as students in your kindergarten, which was then in the house on Main Street that belongs to Glenn and Jean Peterson, you've had countless boys and girls, now young men and women, and have influenced them.
Wonderful. I meet them all the time on the streets, and don't know how they recognize me after 20 years or so, but they seem to, and some of them have become doctors and lawyers and have made out very well. And then I've had some that have OD'd on drugs, and which has been very sad.
But you certainly, Betty, you've had a profound effect on the lives of each and every one of us who've passed through your classroom. I'm thinking of all the different communities that you've served in Amesbury, whether it be a church community, the school community, the public library community, or any of the civic organizations of which you've been a member. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your rich history serving with the Whittier Home Association, the Amesbury Carriage Museum, the Bartlett Museum, and the list goes on and on.
My sister and I did a lot of traveling, and I always took slides, and so some of the organizations in town asked me to show slide programs, and this is how I became a member of the Whittier Home. I showed slides there, and then they asked me if I'd like to become a member, but at that time you had to be voted in. I had to stay out in the hall while they voted to whether they wanted me as a member or not, and I became a member of the Whittier Home and served on the board, and am still a member of the Whittier Home. And then I belong to the Bartlett Museum and the Amesbury Improvement Association and the Lake Attitash Association, the Alumni Association. I don't know how I ever had time to do anything else because I served on so many different committees. But
and now you're a past director emeritus of the Amesbury Carriage Museum, Betty. I know that's something that's
and also the Bartlett Museum, I'm emeritus.
That's right.
Yes.
Both organizations have been really near and dear to your heart, certainly.
They have.
I also know, Betty, that the Union Congregational Church has played a very pivotal role in your family's life.
Yes.
Could you talk a bit about your experiences at Union Congo?
Well, my grandparents even went to Union Congregational Church, and I don't remember my father going to church much, but my mother was very active in the church, and my father would go to church if we were in any of the programs, but other than that, he didn't go to many of the services. But I am still a member of the willing workers of the Union Congregational Church. They have been going since the church was founded in 1835. And now we're down to only 5 members, but we still become very active and do different things for the community. And
could you talk about, I know the church has been having a lot of spaghetti suppers recently, and this past weekend they had a chicken barbecue.
Chicken barbecue.
How did it go?
Very well. Yes.
I'm sure you were there.
Yes, I was there, and I think they said they served about 55 people, and and I can't imagine that every first Saturday of every month they put on a spaghetti supper, and they've been doing this for 3 years, and the same people come back every Saturday, and it's been a really help to, I don't know how our church can keep going much longer. It was founded in 1835, and on an average we have about 10 people on a Sunday now that go to church. So I don't know how much longer financially we can keep going.
Well, the facility certainly looks beautiful.
Yes,
I think the folks who have served on the committee to restore the church done an admirable job.
People from Point Shore have formed an alliance and have raised house tours and things, and they have put a new steeple on the church, put new windows in the church, painted the interior of the church, and the building is in fine stage. But as far as being run as a church, I have very doubts that it'll be able to. We do rent the vestry part of the church to an artist and to the Alcoholic Anonymous groups, and so they do get some added some
revenue.
And then we have yard sales and Christmas fairs and things that can keep that going.
Well, we certainly hope it continues to thrive. That's actually where I was baptized, Betty.
Where you?
As you know, I don't attend that church right now,
right,
but it will always be near and dear to my heart.
Right, yes.
Betty, as we anticipate Amesbury's 350th anniversary next year in 2018, you're a lifelong resident of this community, 93 years. What is it about Amesbury, Amesbury's past, Amesbury's present, maybe Amesbury's future, that makes this such a special place in which to live? The town that's now the city.
I don't just that I love this as a small town, and living at Lake Attitash was certainly a wonderful childhood and adulthood, that place that anybody could ever live. We skated and ice boated and ice fished in the wintertime, and I used to love to sit on my sun porch and watch the thunder showers coming across the lake, and just so many fond memories of that part of Amesbury. But
now tell me, I believe you and your family were instrumental in the Lake Attitash illumination boat parades that were held each summer. Am I correct?
Well, people tell us that, but I have my doubts.
You do.
But we did have a lot to do with the boat parades. People would take, back then, they just had it from Sandy Beach to the Strathmere Club. Merrimack wasn't included, and we had wooden rowboats, and we would put slats up and wrap them with crepe paper, and I've got pictures of some of those boats, and they really were nice.
Nicely decorated. A real nice boat parade.
One of the things that my sister and I did start was having a children's parade 4th of July, and the kids would all dress up in costumes, and then they would come to our yard and we'd give them Dixie cups.
Oh, great.
For that was one of the things that we did instigate, and maybe we did the boat parades, but I'm sure we were involved with them anyway.
Did you recently, if I'm not mistaken, they dedicated the corner right by 68 Lake Attitash to the Goodwin family, am I correct?
Right, that was a really wonderful thing. It's called Goodwin's Corner, and they've got a big rock there that says Goodwin's on it, and my father would have been so proud because he was always called the mayor of Lake Attitash. The firemen kept their grappling hooks, irons they called them. If anyone ever drowned, they'd go out and they kept them at our house, and they kept fire extinguishers at our house, and the police were always coming up to my house and asking my father for things. And I can remember one sad night the police came to the door and asked them if they would go to one of the neighbors' house. Her husband had been killed in an accident in Saugus, and he went with the police and helped.
So truly the mayor of Lake Attitash.
She was. Yeah.
Betty, education's played a key role in your life. As you think about the lessons that we need to be teaching children today, are there things that really stick out as you think about education that you would hope our children in today's world would learn?
Well, it seems like they're cutting out more and more things in the schools now. It seems like they don't. I mean, some of the girls that work here, I mean, they don't know any historical questions. I mean, one day we had a crossword game, and the word Potomac came out, and the girl didn't know how to pronounce it even.
Interesting.
It's very sad to learn that these girls aren't even learning things that we learned in school, geography and history and and things.
Why do you think that is, Betty?
I don't know.
It's hard to understand, isn't it?
Modern technology
is
taking place, so it's really...
I know there's nothing like that person-to-person contact, is it?
Right.
Looking at this coming year, as I said, the calendar is pretty well set. We hope to have an event per month to celebrate the 350th anniversary. What are some things, as you think back on the 300th anniversary and the 325th anniversary, what are some things that you hope get attention for the 350th anniversary? Some celebrations.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. Those programs that you
they were planning?
emceed for the horse shows.
Oh, sure.
Those were wonderful. I don't know if that was even included in either of those celebration years.
I don't think so. Because
I don't think so
that
either.
was 1985, 6, 7, and 8 when we had the horse and carriage shows.
Yeah,
those were great days.
Those were great days, yes.
Think of the future. What are your hopes and dreams for Amesbury as a city?
For Amesbury as a city. Well, to continue it to grow as we have. I mean, we've come from selectmen to mayor and
city councilors.
City councils, and things have progressed along the way.
Right.
I don't know where we can go from here, I'm sure, but...
Well, here's a question for you, Betty. I know as a member of the Amesbury Carriage Museum, you know that we're focusing not just on carriages, but on the rich industrial history that is Amesbury's, with the hat industry, the boat building industry, the lumber, the textiles, and the carriage. Can you think of a way that those industries can direct Amesbury into a very lucrative and exciting future?
Not really. I can't.
How about the Amesbury Carriage Museum? Would you like to see the museum finally find a home?
No, you won't want me to say this.
Well, honesty is the best policy.
I love the building that we bought, and I'm sad to think that maybe we won't continue to
own
further that. I think it's a pretty spot, and we've spent a lot of money on it. And
We have. I know the sale of the building, I know, Betty, is not something that decision wasn't arrived at quickly.
No.
It was after a great deal of thought and consideration, so we'll see. But ideally, don't you think it would be nice to try to find some place in town where we could have at least a storefront, a place where folks could come to visit?
No, I don't know why they couldn't where it is now.
I know, but money, I think, money is the thing. I know that the feasibility study that was conducted suggested that we needed to raise close to $6.5 million, when in fact it looks like we could only get maybe a commitment of $1 million. So that gap is difficult to fill. Betty, you've had so much to share. As you think about leaving footprints on the sands of time, what's the biggest footprint that Betty Goodwin continues to leave on this city?
I just hope that I stay mentally and health-wise until I pass from this world.
What's your secret? Because
I don't know.
Because I'll talk to Patty oftentimes and I'll say, my cousin Betty Goodwin at 93 is clear as a bell, clearer than I can be. There must be a secret.
I don't know. I never drank. I don't know. And I never smoked.
So there are two good things, two pluses.
My father wouldn't have liquor in the house. He wouldn't go to a restaurant if they served liquor.
Really?
And you couldn't do that nowadays.
No, certainly not.
And so none of us... my brother would go next door and have a beer with the woman next door. But
I see.
My mother would never, or my father would never know that. But
well, I think a lot of it is probably good genes. Am I correct?
I think so.
Yeah. Now see if I can explain yours and my relationship, Betty. Your mother was my grandfather's sister. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah.
And you came from a family of 5 children?
Yes.
Incredible. And you're here, and Leslie, your brother Leslie, is here.
And he had a hip operation Monday.
He did.
Yes, but he came out of it well. But,
very good. Well, listen, Betty, I'm so grateful to you for, first of all, allowing us to come into your beautiful home here at the Elizabeth Calsey House, and for sharing some windows into your world and giving an idea of what life has looked like for you. Any final comments that you'd like to make?
Not that I know of. I never expected this to happen to me, but this is a wonderful opportunity for me to get a chance to share my life. And so.
Well, I thank you very much. I feel blessed to have been a part of your life, Betty. And again, your gift of time today is so, so appreciated. Thank you, and I hope that you too can consider making footprints on the sands of time here in Amesbury.